Good evening. Tonight we're going to be looking at Daniel chapter 10. Daniel chapter 10, and in this chapter, really what this chapter does is it serves as kind of a setup for the following chapter, which is another prophecy about the troubling times that Israel is going to go through. And so verses 1 through 3 kind of introduce this chapter, and it shows Daniel's heart at this time. So it says here, in the third year of Cyrus, king of Persia, a message was revealed to Daniel, whose name was called Belteshazzar. So that first part of that there, it says Cyrus, king of Persia. Yeah, so this is in the third year of his reign. So that tells us when this was taking place. Daniel's very old at this point. And so moving on here, it says the message was true, talking about the coming prophecy in Daniel chapter 11. But the appointed time was long, and he understood the message and had understanding of the vision. So Daniel knew what this prophecy was talking about, the one that's going to describe in chapter 11. But it's troubling to Daniel because it's going to be a very long time that the Israelites are going to be oppressed. It says, in those days, I, Daniel, was mourning 3 full weeks. I ate no pleasant food, no meat or wine into my mouth, came into my mouth, nor did I anoint myself at all till 3 whole weeks were fulfilled. And so this is not fasting. Fasting is completely abstaining from food and drink, and so Daniel's not fasting here. But he is denying himself some pleasures. He's purposefully mourning. Now, why is he mourning for 3 weeks? It's likely because Ezra has taken so few Jews with him to go back from exile. So this is around the time when Ezra is taking people back to Jerusalem, and not many people went with him at this time. So Daniel's alive still at that point, and so that's likely what's going to be what the reason is. We don't know for sure because it doesn't say. Also to note here, the reason why Daniel wasn't going back to Jerusalem is he's very old at this time. He's very old. He was 84 years old at the time of writing this, or at the time that this specific chapter takes place. So he had a very high position as well, and so he's not going back with them because he can do better where he is, and it would probably be a very hard journey for him. And so again, the last part there, Daniel's mourning. He's purposefully mourning. He's upset about things, and he is not fasting, but he is denying himself some things. Verses 4 to 6, Daniel has a vision where he sees a man standing on the banks of the river, the Tigris River, and this man is pretty much everybody agrees that is not actually a man, but there is some disagreement as far as who the identity of this man-like figure is. It says here, now on the 24th day of the first month, I was by the side of the great river that is the Tigris. I lifted my eyes and looked, and behold, a certain man clothed in linen, whose waist was girded with gold of Uphaz. His body was like beryl, his face like the appearance of lightning, his eyes like torches of fire, his arms and feet like burnished bronze in color, and the sound of his words like the voice of a multitude. And so there's two possibilities as to the identity of this person. This man-like figure is. It's obviously not a man because I mean, I don't. Nobody has bronze arms and stuff like that, or a voice like a multitude, right? So this is a very powerful being. So a lot of people believe that this is a Old Testament Christ. This is Jesus appearing to Daniel here. The reason for that is because the description of this person is very similar to the description of Jesus in the book of Revelation. I personally, I do believe that this is Jesus in the Old Testament. But for some other reasons, there's a lot of people that do not believe that this is Jesus, that it is an unnamed angel that is appearing to Daniel. The reason for that is because later in this chapter, it points out that the angel Michael assisted this being. Okay, so if a lot of people think that if it's Jesus, then why would he need help from Michael? And so understand that all of the angels are servants to the Lord, and so I still believe that this is Jesus here, even aided by Michael, right? So, all right, verse 7 here points out that Daniel was the only person that saw this man. Everybody that was with him didn't see the man on the other side of the river. Only Daniel did, but it seems that they at least understood that something was going on. So it says, "And I, Daniel, alone saw the vision. For the men who were with me did not see the vision, but a great terror fell upon them, so that they fled to hide themselves." And so only Daniel sees this vision, but the people that are with him, while they didn't see anything, a great terror fell upon them. And so it's like they sensed that at least something was going on. Verses 8 to 9, we see Daniel's reaction to this man. It says, "Therefore I was left alone when I saw this great vision, and no strength remained in me, for my vigor was turned to frailty in me, and I retained no strength." So he became weak at when this happened. It says, "Yet I heard the sound of his words, and while I heard the sound of his words, I was in a deep sleep on my face, with my face to the ground." So he basically prostrated himself. He basically fainted, but he was with his face to the ground. So his reaction is basically fainting at this. Then the certain man introduces himself to Daniel. Verses 10 through 11, it says, "Suddenly a hand touched me." Verse 10 to 11, sorry. "Suddenly a hand touched me, which made me tremble on my knees and on the palms of my hands. And he said to me, 'O Daniel, man greatly beloved, understand the words that I speak to you, and stand upright, for I have now been sent to you.' While he was speaking this word to me, I stood trembling." And so Daniel is completely fearful. Even he knows that this is an angel at this point, or something's from God. But this is a terrifying experience, right? So verses 12 to 14. the angel explains to Daniel some things, and kind of why the angel didn't come sooner. That is because he was delayed. And so this gives us a glimpse into some spiritual warfare that is going on all the time that we don't necessarily see, right? Or we just don't see. Things are always there are always battles going on that are out of our understanding. So it says here, then he said to me, "Do not fear, Daniel, for from the first day that you set your heart to understand and to humble yourself before your God, your words were heard." So the whole time Daniel's praying to God, even if he didn't get a response right away, his words were heard. It says, "And I have come because of your words." And then here's the really interesting part of this passage. It says, "But the prince of the kingdom of Persia withstood me 21 days. And behold, Michael, one of the chief princes, came to help me. For I had been left alone there with the kings of Persia. Now I have come to make you understand what will happen to your people in the latter days. For the vision refers to many days yet to come." So this is really interesting, and you may think like, well, how can a human prince withstand even a powerful angel, let alone Jesus? And the answer is that this is probably not a human prince of Persia. Just like Michael is referred to as one of the chief princes. The word prince there refers to like just a ruler, a powerful person, right? So someone in authority. Now, angels being referred to this and referred to it in this way, like Michael, but also Satan is referred to as the prince of this world in the Bible, and so same thing with demons and things like that, and so what this is referring to in all likelihood is the demonic power behind Persia at the time. So let alone possibly Satan himself. And so there's a spiritual battle going on here before this angel or Christ could get to Daniel. And so it's a very interesting situation that's happening. Like I said, I still do believe that it is Christ here, and we'll get to that in the next portion of verses. But I think that there's a battle between the forces of Satan and Christ, and the withstanding that happens there, and so. Yeah, I think just that there's spiritual warfare going on is what this is explaining. So, verses 50, or sorry, just to wrap up that portion there, it says, "Now I have come to make you understand what will happen to your people in the latter days, for the vision refers to many days yet to come." And so, the latter days here, it's likely talking about latter days as far as what Daniel's people would have understood. So probably their future, talking about Antiochus Epiphanes and other historical figures, because the tribulations that were going to befall them at that time, and in the near future, but also we look at these prophecies and we also see that they do still apply to the end times as well. And so moving on here to verses 15 to 19, this is why I do believe that this is Jesus here. Daniel talks to this angel, or this unknown person, and refers to him as my Lord. Now, any time in the Bible, pretty much, where it is just a regular angel, and they're saying, "My Lord," the angel will usually correct them, and we don't see that here. And so, some people suggest that no, this is God speaking through the angel to Daniel. I think that it is the Lord speaking to Daniel here. It says here, verse 15 to 19, it says, "When he had spoken such words to me, I turned my face toward the ground and became speechless. And suddenly, one having the likeness of the sons of men." Okay, so one having the likeness of the sons of men. This is still, I believe, the same person that appeared to him. And so he's not a man, but he's like a man. Okay, it says, "Touched my lips. Then I opened my mouth and spoke, saying to him who stood before me, 'My Lord, because of the vision, my sorrows have overwhelmed me, and I have retained no strength. For how can this servant of my Lord talk with you?'" Talking about himself, "My Lord." He says, "As for me, no strength remains in me now, nor is any breath left in me." I believe here that Daniel is speaking both of his current situation where he's sapped of his strength, but also I think he's speaking of his age here as well, that he's kind of feeling like he can't really do much more. He's an 84-year-old man. So it says here, "Then again, the one having the likeness of a man touched me and strengthened me. And he said, 'O man, greatly beloved, fear not. Peace be to you. Be strong. Yes, be strong.'" Again, a lot of language here that seems to be coming directly from the Lord. What this angel is saying about with the strengthening there, very similar to how God spoke to Joshua before they were going to go and conquer the promised land. He said, "Only be thou strong and of a good courage," right? And so, very similar language here. It says, "So when he spoke to me, I was strengthened and said, 'Let my Lord speak, for you have strengthened me.'" And so, this is a beautiful situation. Daniel is he's lost his strength, whether in that moment or whether also because of his age. But the Lord is speaking to him and strengthening him throughout this situation. So then verse 20 to 11:1. So just the end of this chapter and then the first verse of the next, because these chapters kind of just go together. But to wrap this up, it says here, this is the introduction, by the way, to the message that I believe Christ is bringing him. It says, "Then he said, 'Do you know why I have come to you? And now I must return to fight with the prince of Persia. For when I have gone forth, indeed, the prince of Greece will come. But I will tell you what is noted in the scripture of truth. No one upholds me against these except Michael, your prince. Also, in the first year of Darius the Mede, even I, stood up to confirm and strengthen him.'" And so I think this is definitely the Lord here. The princes that it is referring to are the angels and the demonic powers. And so I think this is all about basically Daniel being told by the Lord that the Lord is fighting their battles. There's going to be some time of tribulation coming, but the Lord was fighting against the demonic powers in Persia. He is going back to fighting these demonic powers in Persia, and that he will continue to fight when these demonic powers in Greece come. And Michael is an angel that is fighting on the side of Israel. And so, but I think that this is talking about the Lord being all over all of that, in making war against the demonic powers of this world to protect his people.